the surprise bowl bid to the Foster Bowl back in Arizona. That was back in 2017. The less said about last year's bowl game, but here's the thing. This year, it's different. This year, it's a lot different, especially if you're an IU fan or alumni like myself. Indiana is already bowl eligible and is trying to reach 8 wins for the first time, wait for it, since 1993. We can go back and say that IU has won 8 games in football. Clearly, we're not known for IU. Indiana is not known for football, more known for basketball. But this year, it might be a little bit different. And there's still time on the clock could we get to 9? I don't know. Are we going to get a New Year's Day game? Probably not. It would have helped, though. It would have helped the conversation last week. How do we beat Penn State? Hung right with Penn State and was right there with them. Well, until the second half, and then it kind of just demolished from there. But it's still within the grasp of having a decent bowl game. Technically, the dream of 9 wins is also technically still alive, as they would need to beat Purdue and win their bowl game to make that happen. We don't know which bowl game they're going to go to yet, but I think a lot of people think that it's be the Red Box Bowl. We got a title for every bowl game that's out there. But I don't know, and I'm not just saying this because I'm an IU guy, but with Purdue this year, it just seems like, every team has their ebbs and flows, but it just seems like Purdue's not been able to get it together. And, that felt somewhat they lost in a collapse. It just seems like that their season is just kind of fell apart with Purdue. It really, truthfully, the Boilers, and we'll get more into this in the college football segment, but they just may not have enough healthy players to make it happen. So that said, how huge would it be to get a great rivalry win and to bring the old Oaken Bucket back to Bloomington, Indiana, where it belongs, and hasn't been able to come home for a while. So certainly going to be attentive to that game today. The other game on tap, well, there's a lot of games on tap, but the other game is, one could say that this might be the biggest must-watch game of the weekend with Ohio State and Michigan. One could say that. But, here's the thing. Ohio State is that good. They are that good. And we're going to get into more of this with Adam Jividen, Super Buckeyes fan. But is that good? But at the same token, on the other side of it, if you're a Michigan fan or a Wolverine fan, you've got to look at, hey, where has your team come from this time last year? Because remember, at the beginning of the season, we were talking about, well, Jim Harbaugh is the most overrated, overpaid coach in college football. He's on the hot seat. He's not going to make it another year. We were talking about Michigan just not being able to do it. We were talking about the scenarios of how Jim Harbaugh would be, air quotes, fired. But that didn't happen. In fact, he's not. Coach Harbaugh is not on the hot seat. And we're talking about a team that's going to go to a bowl game. We're talking about a team that, if they beat Ohio State, and it's a big if with capital I and capital F, if they beat Ohio State, the conversation is going to be, is Ohio State still in the talk about playoffs? We could run this both ways. We could run this two ways. Say, yeah, absolutely, strength of schedule always rules out. And I think everybody that listens to this show on any regular consistency knows my thoughts on strength of schedule. I think a win is a win is a win is a win is a win. It's that way in the NFL. It's that way in most sports, but not in college football. So, you know, so there is that part of the conversation, that part of the uh, there's that part of it. But in all reality, if we're talking about the implications of a game, this is far, far more. This is far more of a must-win, if you want to use those terminologies. And we're going to get more into this conversation with Adam Jividen. But if we're to get into the weeds or into the nitty-gritty, if you will, if Ohio State loses today to Michigan, again, that's a big if. That's a really big if. I certainly think that Ohio State can take care of business and check that box. But if we're talking hypotheticals, and right now, clearly that's all we've got to go on. But if we are talking hypotheticals, a Michigan win could, it won't do much for Michigan. It'll might move the needle a little bit, but it'll move the needle a lot, especially in conversation. And if you're in the bowl committee, where are you putting? Are you putting Ohio State in the playoffs if you get beat by Michigan? There's some big implications there. So I would say this is one of the must-see games of the weekend. One of the must-see games of the weekend. Also, if you're here in the state of Indiana, making your way down town to the championship, high school championship games going on this weekend, good luck to all those. You got Valpo versus New Pal, I know, going on, and Lafayette pulled out a big one against Lutheran yesterday. Matthew Ember usually brings us up to speed on the high school football, but actually, I think now that I go back and think about what the tweets were, I think New Pal did win the 5A title here in the state of Indiana. So congratulations to that. But I'm sure across the United States here, all the high school kids are in similar situations, similar high school. So it's fun to watch these high school sports. I think they get a lot more attention now than what they used to. Certainly back when I was younger and back when I was in high school. But hey, it's always good to see them. And then of course, coming up this weekend, and I'll be at that game, and we'll be talking about that later on in the show. And that's the Titans and the Colts. Disappointing loss against Houston last week. T.Y. Hilton still a little bit on the iffy scale. Jacoby Brissett could have played a little bit better game. But we've got a good record. We've had the number of the Tennessee Titans for a long time now. And we're at home, and the implications are huge. So we need to win tomorrow, and I'll be at that game. It's going to be a great time, and against the Tennessee Titans, and see what happens there. But so we're going to be talking some NFL with Mo from the BS Sports Show. Also, Ed Kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles and our official NFL contributor, is going to be joining us at the bottom of the show to talk about that. Also, here coming up here in just a few minutes here, we've got Tony Donahue of the Tony D podcast going to join us. Going to be breaking down some of these college games on tap we'll get more into the conversation with Ohio and Michigan and some of these other games that are going on. Of course, you got Alabama football, the Iron Bowl this weekend as well. So we'll be getting into all those conversations. Anyway, I tell you what, it's a crazy week. It's a crazy world of sports that we live in, and we got a lot to break down and unpack. And certainly would like to talk with you about your Thanksgiving. And here's the thing, also continuing the Star Wars saga or conversation, if you will. I finished all the Star Wars movies. Remember, I started that last weekend or the weekend before last, and so I finished all that. So I'm anxious to see what's next in the chapter. I would say that I was not a Star Wars hater, but I'm much more appreciative of Star Wars and Star Wars fans after finishing all of these Star Wars movies, if you will. I'm much more appreciative of the series, and I tell you what, who's with me? And I know I'm late to the game here. All right, I know. And Adam's going to drill me for this too, probably here in a little bit when he gets on the show. But I know I'm late to the game. But how big of a badass is Ray? Ray's a freaking badass, and we don't know what this final chapter of Star Wars is going to bring. But is Ray on the good side? Is Ray on the dark side? She's a badass, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens there as well. Well, I digress. It's the turkey. It's a turkey coma, that's for sure. My name is Tom Marquisel, Presidente. 917-889-8516 is our digits. Give us a call. We'll be standing by here with Tony Donahue of the Tony D podcast coming up here right on the other side. Okay, well, we're back. Something happened there in my ears. It is what it is. My name is Tom Marquisel, Presidente. We'll be right back with Tony Donahue, the Tony D podcast, breaking down some college football and the NFL right here on the Balance Radio Network.
Tonight, I just want to take you away. Throw your hands up in the sky. Let's set this party on fire. Players, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Hit the toe so clear. Look out. Pop is showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. I'm wearing Cuban links, designer mix, Inglewood's finest shoes. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blue. Shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jocking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon.
Okay, I'm in.